Important notice: the following content may be triggering. Viewer discretion is advised. All discussions are based on personal opinions and experiences. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out to a local support organization. Important notice:
Welcome, we're live. Welcome to Through the Eyes of Survivors Uncensored. This is a podcast where we dig into the raw and unfiltered realities of domestic violence, survivor strength, and the systems that are meant to protect us, but don't always. So I'm your host, Tara. I'm here along with Mia and Amanda. And today's episode brings you three powerful, heartbreaking, and urgent stories. We're going to talk about a TikTok star's virtual truth and how she exposed it with her relationship, a chilling Easter egg tragedy in Brazil, and we're going to look at some legislative changes underway in, I believe, Nebraska, and that could really reshape how survivors are protected. So we also will be unveiling a brand new segment called Survivor to Survivor, where you can email us your questions about domestic violence and we'll answer them from a survivor's point of view. But before we get into all of that, we have to, spotlight our affiliate. This episode is brought to you through our partnership affiliate, Opus Clip. Uh, Opus Clip is your new secret weapon for repurposing long form videos into viral short clips. We use it here all the time. Whether you're telling your truth or sharing awareness or building a community, Opus Clip helps make your content really go the distance. Use our affiliate link, which Miss Amanda will put into the comment sections there for you to get, and show your support to BTS while leveling up your content in game. Now that you got the tools that can help your voice go viral, let's dive into someone who did just that. So, ladies, we're going to let her rip with this first segment. So thank you for being on with me this week. So we're going to start talking about, hope I'm pronouncing her name right, Kayla, is it Malik? Malik? So,
I
yeah,
believe so.
yes. So she's a rising TikTok star, right? Has nearly 15 million followers, and Kayla is definitely vibrant online life, right? Um, I believe that her ex boyfriend is also a fellow influencer, Evan Johnson, and they did videos together, I believe, showing their life and what it was like. But then there came a time she broke her silence on the internet by sharing her truth behind the camera of what abuse really looked like for her. So Evan was arrested in Sumner County, Tennessee for domestic assault and a parole violation. And Kayla's videos are very well documented, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. Do you want to shed a little more details, Amanda, for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you were talking about, Kayla is this rising star on TikTok, but this was something that she was actually doing with her ex-boyfriend at the time, and they were actively making content during the abuse. But during this time, she was also filming her abuse on the side and keeping, and she released it on a two-part documentary on YouTube. I mean, basically showing everything from every incident to bruises and cuts and everything. I mean, she filmed. I mean, she took what she knew best to do and used it for the best of her resources in that time. And as survivors, we always say document, 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 take pictures. And that was her upper hand on this time, was that she was able to do that during the abuse. She was not letting TikTok know. her followers that this was happening, as we do. As survivors, when we are in our abuse, we kind of keep it shadowed, but she was making sure to make private videos on the side so that she did have proof. And she released this at a certain time. And when he was arrested, this was wonderful for her case because, again, as you said, there was a lot of proof, audio recordings, a lot. She definitely put it out there for others to see, which was really kind of wonderful because the TikTok world has a lot of young viewers, as we know. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure you can, attest for that. And when she did that, she really kind of made a open door for some survivors to be able to tell their truth as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's astounding to me because it kind of had a similarity for me with Gabby Pito on the fact
Yes.
of here they were documenting this whole life experience, being social media influencers, but behind the scenes, what was really happening was nothing like her followers were seeing. But at least she had the presence of mind to document it. And that
Absolutely.
makes the difference, right?
Absolutely.
So, so Mia, have you seen any of like Kayla's work or her documentary or anything?
I haven't seen like the entire documentary, but I've seen like a lot of posts about it and like audio clips from the video that she put out there, like her like screaming in pain, like that he broke her jaw, and that like just him saying horrible, horrible things to her, and it was a little like triggering. That's why didn't watch the entire video or anything. But a lot of people have been like going through old videos of her, like looking for signs, because a lot of people had no clue that this was going on. She hid it very well, but when you go back, like I'm sorry, there's a storm outside. If you heard that lightning, but but yeah, like you could see bruises on her neck, and like in her video, she shows like bruises on her face, and a lot of people like would talk badly about her makeup back then, but now people are like, I wonder if she was covering bruises with all the freckles that she put on, and
Yes. Yes.
I feel like a lot of people feel really bad because like she's a big TikToker, but a lot of people thought she was like she's a very outgoing personality, and that not everyone enjoys that. And so a lot of people who weren't people that enjoyed that feel very bad because she was living this horrible life. She was hiding so many things, and people are hating on her for her makeup or how loud she is. But yeah, it's definitely been all over TikTok, and I want to say that I think his name was Evan, the abuser, posted and was like, we were in a happy relationship. If she wasn't happy, she would have just left, and she didn't leave for years. Blah 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 blah. Like victim blaming her.
Right.
Um,
Oh, absolutely. And if you're watching, we'd love to see your comments in here. Go ahead and pop into the chat. We love to engage with you. I mean, how do you all out there feel about survivors using social media to share their stories? Let us know in the comments. So ladies, how do you feel about it?
I feel like it's
I
like a
think that
really.
it,
No, you
Go
can go.
ahead.
You can
Go
go.
ahead, Mia. You go first.
no, you're good. You're good.
I feel like it's a really like good method of sharing because it's such a wider reach, and um, like yes, you're gonna get some outside opinions that probably won't be the best, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to just share with people you know sometimes because then you feel like the weight of their opinions matters a little more. And I feel like more often than not, the you get positive responses and you bring people together. Other people feel safe to confide and share that their own stories as well.
Absolutely. Amanda, what were you going to say?
I think it's crucial. The one thing that I always tell everybody is domestic violence isn't cookie cutter, so it doesn't always match the same. So you could actively be in a domestic violence relationship and have no clue you're in a domestic violence relationship. And these stories and sharing could help someone because your story might be meeting their story. I think that even the more that we break our silence, just like as an organization, the more powerful we get. And so if we're continuing to talk about it, continuing to putting it out there on all these social media platforms, the more people are going to see it, the more talk we're going to have. And so, yes, I think it's crucial. And it's also so healing for us because we're taking our power back. We're taking our power back by sharing our
Yeah,
story. So,
absolutely. I think it's very powerful in the fact of, I think of back when I was suffering in my abusive relationship, when you told somebody there was a disbelief. And video nowadays, especially in these platforms, make it so it's not he said, she said. It's right there in front of you. You can see it in color
mhm,
as it's happening, and what is being said and what is being done. And that makes it a very powerful tool for sure, um, and can be very, very effective. But then we have seen on the other end, just playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, how people like remember when the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard stuff went on, right? How people try to
yeah,
manipulate it as well within the video and stuff, trying to spur on things to happen inorganically. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
it can go both ways, but in the majority of what I have seen through TikTok, not just through Kayla's stuff, but other influencers who are sharing their DV stories through video, um, and that are brave enough to post that kind of content, they're really sincere. They're really trying to drive home a message of this was real and I really went through this, and look, we put on this brave face, but it's not reality. This is reality, right? So it's uh it's definitely um a different world from when like I said, 20 some odd years ago, back when I was experiencing it. So we're just going to show Jim's comment here. He said, yes, it's a great tool, must be used properly. Absolutely. So, uh, so the thing is like, the more I feel like maybe we can do more though to protect survivors who speak online, because they are really putting it out there. You know what I'm saying? Because I have seen that as well from my daughter's perspective, where you do get a lot of he said, she said, and how do we protect survivors who are speaking out online, who are sharing their story from being re-traumatized, let's say. What are your thoughts on that, Amanda?
Oh my gosh. Well, give them the space to tell their story and respect it. I think that the one thing that we have to understand is it's okay to disagree. It's okay to, maybe not feel what they're feeling in that moment when they're telling their story, but give them the platform to tell it in a safety space and to be a shield around those women when they are, stick up for people when they're telling their truth. We don't have to argue. You don't have to be nasty, but that's what it's important to have. These communities to rally around each other, to be able to support each other when we are speaking our truth, because it is hard. It puts us very vulnerable positions. We have flying monkeys coming out of different areas because of our abuse, and family members that come out of nowhere, or friends or people that was related to our abuser. So we definitely need that community around us, that when we're telling our truth, to make sure that they have our backs, that like, hey, she is telling the truth. She is. Make this a platform where we feel comfortable. Um, the When we feel gaslighted or manipulated, or we're being talked out of how we felt, that's the one thing that's going to make survivors stop talking.
Mhm.
We need that platform to be safe for us.
Hmm. Absolutely. And Mia, I'm interested from a younger person's perspective because you're around the same age as this young woman. Um, some people would say, and I've seen this on social media, um, because she's an influencer and she's so young, she's just looking for attention by doing all of that. What is your perspective as a young person as to why this kind of tool was used by her and what people say along those lines?
I feel like there's always someone that's gonna just like try to cloud whatever anyone does. There's always someone who's gonna be like, oh, you're doing this for attention, you're posting this so people like you more, blah 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 blah. There's always gonna be people like that, but at the end of the day, her point in showing this was to show her story, so other like she's bringing a lot of attention to something that's like not taboo, but kinda like not everyone talks about these things, and especially when like toxic relationships are so normalized nowadays. And her video, I'm pretty sure it's called "Signs He Doesn't Love You," like, or he
Right.
doesn't really love you.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, like I feel like it's she's trying to show other women, especially like people our age, that the if you're experiencing these kinds of things, that it's not love, oh, and things of like that nature. I just think I hope that when she probably like because this was a long time, like in during that abuse. So I'm guessing she waited till she was long enough out to a point that her posting this wouldn't be like detrimental to her healing journey, because I think posting your story and talking about it is a very powerful thing to do. But at the same time, because there are going to be people that aren't going to support it, you have to be far enough in a healing journey to where you have like enough, have moved on enough to a point where when someone says something bad, you know that that's not true and it's not going to affect you too much. So
Yes.
I hope that all, if she's getting any backlash, that it's just like she's already like endured so much abuse. I doubt some little TikTok comments are really gonna hurt her. Thankfully.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. Let's see. Audrey says, oops, is it showing? There it goes. That's victim blaming. And we agree. Yes.
Absolutely.
And people just, I have seen even on our pages, I'm going to bring this up because we talked about it a little bit during our staff meeting today, but people are, they feel like when they get behind a computer on these social medias that you have to almost, I think there's people out there, of course there's always trolls, right? But there's some people who don't really understand the ramifications of just little things that they do out there when you have victims who are speaking their truth. So little things like when they come into the comment section and they're telling parts of their story and they're pouring their heart out, and simple things like someone punching a laughing emoji at them can be very hurtful and painful. And I think people do that sometimes without thinking, or they're looking to spurn some kind of trouble or drama instead of realizing the real courage it takes for somebody to do that, even in a comment in social media. And so I'd love for everybody to just like be aware of that, be sensitive about that, that this person's truth, and what happened to them is not a laughing matter. So, mm-mm. So is there anything else you ladies would like to point out on this segment before we move on? We have
No,
any
I
other
think
good
we.
comments? Looks like
I think
we have a couple of
have one.
comments. Let's see.
I think we have one from Jim. Yes, that's what BTS is all about, showing those who speak out, supporting each other, and advocating for those who need it.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to take a quick break before our next segment. Um, we know the aftermath of what abuse can feel like and how isolating it can be. And that's why we created our Sister Survivor Retreat. It's a weekend of healing and bonding, reclaiming your power with survivors. We're going to play you a short clip to advertise the retreat and post up some links, and we hope that you'll, consider being an attendee, and hope you will join us this June. So, Amanda, would you play that clip?
What I wish I knew a year ago is that healing is possible, and you don't have to do it alone. Welcome to Sister Survivor Retreat in beautiful Colorado Springs, June 19th, 22. This retreat is your sanctuary, a place where you can connect with other women who understand your journey. Experience the transformative power of equine therapy, feel the serenity in yoga sessions, and create nourishing sugar scrubs. Our empowering workshops are designed to help you reclaim your strength and embrace your future. Most importantly, you'll build a sisterhood, a community of support that will last long after the retreat ends. If you've been DV-free for at least a year, join us to find healing and connection. Visit our website to apply or click the link in the description. Remember, you are not alone. Together we rise. What I wish I knew a year ago is that healing is possible.
All right, we are back. And if you're interested in that retreat, please absolutely go to our website. The link will be in the comments, but it's www.breakthesilencedv.org. You can register, get more information there. And Amanda, I believe we do have an early bird special for anybody who signs up for the retreat soon, correct?
Correct. We do. We
Yes, so
absolutely
I
do.
think it's like 20% off if you sign up for
It
the
is.
retreat right now. So please check that out. We would love to see you there in Colorado Springs. That is a beautiful area. So now we're going to get into our next segment about an incident that happened in Brazil over the Easter weekend holiday. So there's a 35-year-old Brazilian woman, and and the family of her ex-boyfriend. Um, they had three children. He's moved on, right, into a new relationship with another woman. I think her name is Mariana. I think Marianne, right? And
Yes.
so the children are between 13 and 7. There's three of them. And this ex girlfriend decided to make them Easter chocolates, Easter eggs, chocolate Easter eggs, and gave them to the ex's new family as a special treat, being hospitable, trying to get in, good and show no ill will, right? But she poisoned them. So the sweets tragically killed a 7-year old Louise and hospitalized the mother and the other children. So this one kind of really has me thrown for a loop about how deadly revenge can get. How sometimes people will not let you go, right? So um, the police found the poison chocolate, wigs, and a fake badge at the ex's home. And she also, they found the receipts for the poison and everything. So, um, yeah. Do you have any more details on that one, Amanda?
Um, as of right now, that's basically where they're at. They were able to, I believe she was apprehended. I believe that again, because they were able to figure out that these candies were tainted. I'm sorry, this story blows my mind because of a child. Um,
Yes.
this is obviously and as they said, they believe this is a bitter revenge of a breakup. I just can't imagine Um, that being so horrible that you take out children, especially a small child, regardless. But they said that she was headed back to her bus to her hometown
Yeah.
when authorities found receipts leading to the poisoning. So she did leave a trail, which they were obviously grateful for because that did lead her to the authorities to know who did this. But she mailed it. She mailed it with a handwritten note. I,
Yeah.
I mean, like, took all this effort to make these candies and write a nice little hand note, and they again thought it was just a nice gesture. I personally, I don't know. If I got chocolates from my ex, I would be questioning them too. But again, in this situation, we don't know how long they've been apart. I mean, this gentleman could have thought, oh, she's just being genuinely nice, because sometimes we see in breakups where people obsess, but you don't know they're obsessing over you until a big
Right.
incident like that. So you can't even downplaying it saying, oh, I would never take chocolates from my ex. Well, she maybe never displayed this kind of obsessive behavior until this huge incident. Maybe he had no clue that she was this, or maybe again he just thought that she was trying to make nice. But I just, it's, yeah, the consequences of it um, is more than what I would want to have to deal with as going through a breakup with
I
someone.
know this is like really personal for you because you can imagine because you have children in those age ranges.
I
So,
do.
yes.
I
Yeah.
do. And,
Yeah.
being a survivor and dealing with a bitter ex, and we know how, um, when that person has that one person on that pedestal, it's not a pedestal of, admiring, it's obsession. And obsession is dangerous. It's not a compliment. And the more that they don't get what they want in that obsession, the more it grows. And that's what I think happened here. I think she just couldn't stand the fact that he was moving on without her. And she thought this would eliminate her problem, but obviously that makes no sense to someone who's in a sane mind.
Well, and for the listeners out there, I pose a question like if you want to answer in the comments, because we'd love to engage with you. Like, how can we recognize when post relationship behaviors become dangerous? Have you had any kind of experience and some things that you would say would show some signs of this? So, we'd love to see your comments on this. Mia, what are your thoughts?
Um, all I think about is like, because I've written papers about like gun violence and things like that. So it just reminds me of the paper that I wrote and how like most kids that are killed by guns, it's because of domestic violence situations. Like most people that are killed in mass shootings of people two or more is because of a domestic dispute. Like I don't think people realize that it happens a lot. That innocent people are always caught in the misfire. Like I remember a few years ago it was probably, I want to say like Arlington or something, but that an ex broke into a house of his ex girlfriend's and he shot her. Or no, she wasn't there, but he broke in and shot her two kids. And they were just kids. They didn't do anything. But they, abusers just have such rage that like no one's safe. And it's so sad. And it sucks that it happens to little kids too. Like it just shows like how horrible an abuser's wrath is, and unfortunately most abusers, they don't really get over things. They sit there and fester and get angrier as the years go on. And so that I know that's scary to a lot of victims, especially even when their abusers go to prison. They're scared thinking about whenever they may come out, even if it's in 10 or 15 years. Like they don't get to have that peace, like it still eats at them. And it's very scary, like for like kids too. Like my dad abused my mom, and I was kind of always like worried that part. I still feel this way sometimes. I still like wonder if he like just hates me because of the fact that he hates my mom.
Right.
And I'm so much like my mom, which is my favorite thing. But because of that, he doesn't love me. Um, and so it's kind of hard being a kid, like of an abuser as well.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, like it never really feels like safe. It kind of just, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. My brain still, it has been, this year will be 13 years since the death of my daughter at the hands of her ex. And I still to this day am like, why wouldn't he just let her go? Just let her go. Let her be free. Why? The relationship was obviously over. Why go to such a extreme? And in this case, it's such an extreme that she involved these children, not just him, not just the new girlfriend, but these children. Why go to that extreme? And I think that just reasonable, everyday good people just cannot fathom that kind of evil. And that's what it is. It's just it's evil incarnate. When people go to that level, they are going to take somebody with them, and it doesn't matter who. They're going to have their revenge or their way or whatever, no matter what. And it's that kind of level is just really hard to understand because it's a whole other level of not just abuse. This is more so when it steps up into that level, and that's what makes it so much more dangerous. And the fact is that every abusive relationship has the ability to turn into that level, and you don't know where and when. So you have to take appropriate precautions because of that, and it affects everyone around you. I mean, that's the sad impact of
Yep.
it, right? So,
Mhm.
uh, so let's say with the justice system, I mean, the justice system definitely is going to handle this. She's been arrested, um, but where does healing begin for this poor family? That's for me. Where does that begin?
Ooh,
How do you forgive a tragedy like this? Your child being gone. It, such a young child on top of it who didn't deserve to be put in the middle of this. What do you think, Amanda?
I think that there's going to be a lot of animosity, a lot of blame, a lot of guilt, um, especially over the children, especially with his new partner. They're going to struggle because that was his baggage that came back and hurt these kids and changed their life. And it's not his fault, but it is. It's something that so that it's hard when your trauma and your abuse, unfortunately, is spilling out onto everybody else because then it affects your loved ones, your children. And when these incident happens, again, it is not the survivor's fault, but well, it's hard for other people to see it in that light when things are happening. I personally went through an incident myself where everybody was upset over something that my abuser did, and I had no play in it, but because I directly was with that person at one point in my life and brought him into a situation that caused him to do this, I was blamed indirectly for it out of anger and, frustration. And I can see that happening in this situation, especially with a child being involved. The father is probably beyond, I'm sure, in grief because, again, this was something that was brought on from his past that he didn't know was coming.
Right. Who would think? Absolutely. Let's see. So we have a few comments. Audrey, levels that people will go to is absolutely shocking. Oh, after all these years, Audrey, of us doing this kind of work, you would think nothing would shock us anymore, but this one shocked me. It absolutely shocked me. So, Elizabeth, thank you for joining us, Elizabeth. She said, been through this 17 years off and on. When does it stop? It's been every man like my father and near to death. I'm drained and angry. We're with you. And pray for all of us and the abusers. It's so much hate. That is some real truth right there. And we've been
Mhm.
there and we have felt that, Elizabeth.
Absolutely.
Jim says, we all come with baggage we can't control.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, this one just, it really blew my mind over that one because
The
that's the
ripple
kind of
effect.
thing. Yeah, yeah. It's really, really powerful. And the things that those children, they're, from what I understand, they're still in critical condition. So they're still, we can all still be praying for them and for their recovery. They're still in danger of losing their lives over this. Hopefully, nobody else will, but it's a big cost. Absolutely.
Honestly, like it's so horrible, but part of it like doesn't really surprise me that someone would go to that lengths because my dad's an abuser. So like it's like everyone who has children with an abuser knows like you kind of expect them and want them to be different because they're their kids as well, but they usually aren't. Like it kind of just ends up spilling over, and like yeah, abusers really have no like grounds or morals. Like it's kind of like there if you even step like a tiny hair over the line, you just get caught in the crossfire. And it's devastating that it happened to kids.
Hmm.
But
Well, and that's part of the statistics in this as well. That I tell people all the time that I know now that it's happened to my family. But the homicide rates for domestic violence is 1 in 3 women per day here in the U.S. But that's only uh, of the domestic violence incident homicide rate. That's only 1/3 of the true rate. So if you include bystanders, it's 3 times higher. So for every 3 women who are dying a day here in this country in a domestic violence incident, 9 innocent bystanders are dying during that incident as well. And that's the number they don't like to put out there that often. So, yes, it spills out into society. Yes, it spills out into our everyday lives, from the innocent children to the hairdresser to your grocer to your coworkers to your friends and your family members who weren't involved. So that's the thing people have got to understand when you're dealing with this, when someone you love is in this intrinsically, everyone around you is in danger and to no fault of the victims at all. So,
yeah, I feel like and everyone knows that like the abusers always threaten the family as well. Like, oh, if you tell anyone I'm going to hurt this person, like the likelihood is that they are eventually going to get hurt. So at that point, you might as well start planning a safe way to leave.
there you
Inform those people that are also being threatened as well. Just like we know when these people get angry that there's like nothing that we can really do to prevent it except leave. Um, so yeah, that's what I'd say.
go. Yeah.
Don't wait for those threats to become not threats anymore.
Well, and that's a good segue into, if you don't know, BTSADV has a support line. Now, we're not a crisis line. If you're needing help, call your crisis center or 911 if you're in a crisis. But our support line is there to help with resources. We can help you even plan, have a plan, a safety plan for leaving. You can call us. We're going to put that into our comment section so you can have that support line number, and please feel free to use it. We're there, even if you just need a listening ear. Someone is there. It is survivors listening to survivors over there. So they definitely know what you've been through, and they're there to try to help you find resources in your local area. So please be sure to use our support line. And we're going to take one more break before our final segment here. So we're going to play you a short clip. Um, and this one is our BTSADV store, where you can purchase products from our store that help support and change lives and help supports our programs here at Break the Silence. All proceeds go to survivor support and the healing retreats and everything. I'm wearing one of our shirts here that are up in there. We have all kinds of merchandise. So just we're going to play a brief clip and then we'll get into our last segment. We hope you're enjoying this episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors. We wanted to pause for a moment and let you know that Through the Eyes of Survivors has a shop now open. And this is a great way for you to not only help survivors of domestic violence, but also let everyone know that you will not be silent about this important cause. From t-shirts to bags to coffee mugs, we have so much to choose from. To grab your swag, head to our store at breakthesilencedv.org. That's store.breakthesilencedv.org. We can't say enough about how much we appreciate all that the community does to help support us and this organization. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode and continue to subscribe to future episodes. Thank you. We hope you're enjoying this episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors. All right, we're back. Hooray! This pretty little blanket behind me is in the store. I'll show you, like, it has a matching pillow, so that's what it looks like. There we go, on the blanket. I love this thing. It is like velvety, soft. So if you're looking at this behind me and you want one, definitely go into our store. It's worth it for sure. So here in our last segment, we're going to talk about some Nebraska legislation. So Nebraska is working hard on a bill that will make protective orders more relevant in today's tech-fueled abuse, right? Because we all know that technology is definitely for a while now been out of control. You know, they use that as a tactic to get to people. So it provides broader definitions of harassment, including indirect and digital threats. It has a longer protective order duration for severe cases, a simpler renew process, right, for those who have repeated trauma. And from I understand, this is going to be like really helpful through text, social media, anonymous accounts, to help use as an essential prevention tool. So, Amanda, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So this bill was a response to modern abusers that manipulate through text, social media, as you said, and again, as you said, often anonymous accounts because they tried to go in differently, and they think that they're kind of doing this in a way that they're not going to get caught by the law, and that they can harass you and stalk you. And I know that this happened to me when I left my abuser. There was a lot of different Facebook accounts lot of different phone numbers. And so, I mean, there's a lot of technology out there where you can get free text messaging numbers and different stuff. So they want to make sure that the technical abuse is not dismissed at courts, because that's been a big thing where they kind of dismiss it. And I know I had it dismissed when I took it to actually a magistrate. I sat in his office and showed him text messages, and he looked at me and said, freedom of speech, there's nothing I can do. This is not a terroristic threat.
Yep.
And I was like, he told me he was going to put me 6 feet in the ground. And that was their response. So this is going to kind of help with stuff like that, where these labor laws are making sure that these survivors feel safe to stay safe, because that's the one they try to get to you. If they are no longer physically near you, they will find ways to taunt you. And I promise you, even if they're incarcerated, I know we've talked about this before, but this is something they will do. Even if they're incarcerated, they will find ways to reach out. And it's important to have these laws so that you are more protected, because there's not a lot of protection when it comes to social media, and especially technical abuse. And that's why they're trying to change that in the court system. So it's kind of a little bit more taken seriously when these survivors come forth with these proof. Because this is proof of abuse.
Well, they tell you document, and
then you bring your document,
and it involves technology. It's always, oh, we can't use that, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. So, Mia, what do you think about these laws, and what are your thoughts on how we can do some more prevention?
I think that that's good. Like, yeah, it's just so annoying. Like, it's a little bit, tiniest bit triggering for me right now, just because my dad, like, recently, like, emailed me because I have him blocked on every single thing. Um, so yeah, it's a good thing to like be able to have another like front to push this kind of abuse away, because it does just get shoved under the rug because, oh, you're not getting physically hurt, so you're fine, like don't worry about it. But it's definitely something that, like, it makes you feel like you have no peace, like you already blocked them on all these things, and then but there's always another way for them to just come get, like, find you again. So yeah, I hope that this one keeps moving in the right direction so survivors can have some peace, and the offenders can have some repercussions when they are violating these people's peace over and over.
Yes, absolutely. And
Absolutely.
for those listening, definitely, what it, tell us what your state is doing, you feel like, to help protect survivors of digital abuse, whether it's direct or indirect. Are they doing anything to ensure the safety of survivors through technology? Let us know here in the comments. We'd love to hear from you on that. Now, some of my thoughts on this definitely is because we had a lot of experience in this. Absolutely. Because, Josh made like 20 fake Facebook profiles, and um, different fake numbers, different, texting, everything that he did. And we did get a lot of pushback of document, and I ain't kidding you. I have a notebook of documentation from everything that's this thick, and about a third of it's got to be from different things with Facebook. And it that portion of it, whenever we went to renew her emergency protective orders, was never considered. They wouldn't even look at it. And we would be like, but he's violating the protective orders by contacting her through this. Well, it's going to take a lot of time and effort to prove it, because he put so many fake Facebook accounts. One, he named it "Loving You Is Right," and another one that was "Loving You Isn't a Regret." And then he did one that was a girl he went to school with who died in a car accident, and he fake profiled her and pretended to be her. And she'd been dead for 10 years. I mean, the links they go to, and yet it seemed like nothing we reported on that level was getting done. It was never good enough. The texts weren't good enough, even though we were keeping them and copying them. So I think harder legislation on that is great if
Mm-hmm.
if the authorities start enforcing these protective orders, because that is where the key is for me. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper, and they'll violate it all day, every day. And so I hope the legislatures do a pretty good job of putting legislation out there to help. The key is when it gets down to law enforcement, are they going to use it? Is the DA going to use it? Is the police officer going to use it? Is the judge going to use it? It can be a powerful tool if the system would work the way it should. But oftentimes it doesn't. And that's where my seriousness on this is, where we need to bridge the gap. We need to get serious about it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, were they ever really serious about anything that you filed, Amanda?
No, and there was no protection behind it. I filed an emergency PFA, and he showed up at the house. And because I was intimidated and I let him in because I was by myself with our children, and he told me he was allowed to be there, and I didn't fully, comprehend the whole thing that was going on. When they arrested him for breaking his own PFA, they threatened me. They told me they were going to take me to jail for, oh, there's really women out here that need help. You're lying. They told me that they were going to take me to jail for falsifying a police report. And it was just like, and I'm standing there looking at them and I'm like, I didn't. He came here on his own will. I didn't text him to come home. There was no kind of treaty of he came in. But the night prior, they let him come in the house when the protection order began, with me in the house with our children, to get his clothes for work.
Yes. Yes. See, here in Texas, I've run into that, and there's several states like that where the woman will get a protective order, but yet he is the home owner. She's put him out, but he owns the home. So he comes back in to get stuff, and the authorities will do nothing about it, because guess what? He's the home owner. It doesn't matter that she has a protective order. She
Mhm.
has to let him in.
Yep.
And even if
Yep.
he breaks in, he's the homeowner, so it's not considered a break in.
Yep.
So it's just
That's what I was told.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were standing there looking at the people. I had my two best friends with me, and she was going, she has a PFA on him. And they're saying he has every right to come into this apartment and get his clothes for work tomorrow. You need to open the door.
Yep.
We had to hide in the bathroom.
Mm. See, and that's the problem with the system. Right there. Right there.
And it doesn't make you want to get another one. It doesn't make you feel secure. It doesn't make you want to go back. And this is why, they say, well, why don't women leave these incidents? Because we feel like we're putting more in danger than we're being protected at those moments.
Mm-hmm. And leave to what?
You can't.
You take your 3 children out on the street, you put your 3 children in a shelter. In situations where the shelter may not be able to provide anything. I mean, we had that on a podcast not that long ago. One shelter didn't provide heat.
Right.
And there's really good shelters out there. So, but there are some that,
Absolutely.
there's some places in this country that there's not enough provision for you to walk out the door and protect yourself. It seems to me we're putting a whole lot of this on the victim, on their shoulders.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think, Mia?
I feel like, yeah, It's really hard. I it's kind of hard for me to talk about because I've never had to deal with this, like the protective orders and everything. I've been in the shelter when my mom left my dad. We were at the, I want to say it's like the only um, like domestic violence shelter in Texas that's like funded by the government. So, but I don't really remember anything at all except getting stung by a bunch of wasps under the slide. That's all that I remember from there. But I've like had the privilege to go back, thankfully, and like see maybe things that I experienced. But like especially on support line, like we look up resources for people, and it's really hard for people in like rural areas. Like there's not really anything that's super close. So for women who are being abused and they don't have cars and things because it's owned by their abuser, it makes it even harder for them to leave. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of women like don't feel safe, like even leaving, especially when a lot of the domestic violence shelters during the holidays and times there's too it's that's capacity, so it's very hard. There's like so many roadblocks in the way for women to be able to leave. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Do
hope so.
you? Yeah, I saw what Jim said to you. He said, "Hope you never have to deal with it." But do you feel like it would have been like less traumatizing for you if you would have been able to stay in your home instead of going into a shelter, or did that have any effect?
I was so little. Honestly, I don't really remember anything from back then. All I remember is crying and asking why my mom wasn't home.
Right.
She was in the hospital. All I remember is like wanting her to come home and just bawling my eyes out and not understanding everything that was going on. Like, it's probably a good thing that I don't remember all these things, but it's also like I know that I have all these effects from it. Like, I know that I was trying to fight my stepdad when he first got introduced because I thought any man that came near my mom was going to hurt her like my dad did. So, but I mm, I think the shelter was like a good thing because is one that's funded well, but not every shelter has that. Unfortunately, there's not enough money going into these things because not people. A lot of people don't like to hear about it.
Right.
Um, but it's something that saves people's lives. It turned my mom's life around for sure. I can't imagine where we would be if she stayed in a relationship with my dad.
Right.
Um, I just stop. Why did my mom say?
Mia's mom is commenting. She's. So yes. But you have a perspective that's good for other people to hear. So absolutely. And what about like the perspective of like your friends with text and how that can be very abusive in their relationships? Because you tell me all the time that you feel like the younger generation kind of glorifies it, like this is the norm, like to stalk your loved one on the. I mean, people have like I'll tell you,
Yeah,
it's
Life 360.
like 360, yes, on their phones and stuff, and
My daughter does that with her friends, and I'm like, "Woo, that's a little too much. That's a
Oh,
little
I
too
have Life
much." And I,
360 with my friends, and I have my boyfriend's location, but it's not really like something like we. This is like the healthiest relationship I've ever been in.
yeah,
Like my happiest relationship ever, and he's like everything that I prayed for, and all the good things. I think, but at the same time, because I've experienced abuse, if I see a red, like I know the red flags that are like there, and he doesn't have any, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, like when are you gonna break my heart? Because I'm just scared. But I like love him. But yeah, there's definitely it's like everything is a double-edged sword these days because for some people it's really good, it's really healthy, but if it gets into the wrong hands of the wrong people, it can be used as a weapon. And that's what sucks, is that there's always people that ruin it for others. But yeah, the social media thing's crazy. But at the same time, I did look up my boyfriend on social media, and he doesn't have anything. So I was like, damn it, how am I supposed to know? But yeah, so for some people, it's really bad, and it's so easy to make like social media accounts. So like for people who want to like spam people, it's horrible. Like my dad makes Instagram accounts and crap to follow me, and I'm like, block, block. But thankfully Instagram did add a feature that you could put block this account and any accounts that they may create. So if they make an account on that device, it will immediately block them, um, which is great, and it's helped me a bit. But yeah, I feel like it just depends on the person, unfortunately. But
Right.
I hope that like the fact that people like this big, the Kayla Malik story shows people that these things are unhealthy, and we start turning away from like abusive relationships. All thankfully, like I feel like it depends on what you're in. Like because I used to see like posts about abusive relationships back when I would was like getting out of the like trying to stop talking to my dad and everything. And now that I'm like in a healthy relationship, all I see is like goo goo gaga posts, which I love. So yeah, but I think at the end of the day, we move on, you know? Like we still feel it, but we don't feel it as heavy some days. Some days we feel it super heavy. And I think that's the best thing, that like it just gets better. And like there's like really long times that it doesn't feel like it's ever gonna get better. But at least like I know the three women in this one right now, we're in happy relationships. And I that's like my favorite thing, is seeing people's lives turn around and that they have like redeeming love stories and all that. Because especially because I'm young, so for like years and years I was like, where's my redeeming love story? I'm like, my mom got one. My brothers are in healthy relationships. Where's mine? And now I feel like I'm in it. So that's great.
Yes, that's good for you. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
I think that's a good positive note for everybody out there, that there is hope. You can have healthy relationships after domestic violence. It doesn't mean that, I mean, I'm still dealing with my abusive ex on some levels. I know Amanda's still dealing with hers as well. And we have been fortunate enough to find men who will deal with it with us, beside us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank
so,
God.
yeah, and that's a
It's
hard
hard.
thing, but when you find somebody like that, hold on to them. And if you don't find somebody, that's okay too, because you have the resilience in you, and the courage and the strength, and just find you some support. That's the most important key. Find you people who understand and who will support you. So, all right, ladies. Any last thoughts before we end this episode?
No, no, I think that again, it's just important that we know the signs of when things could get unhealthy in relationships, and to understand that you have a community out there to help you. You're not alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, as we're ending, I want to tell everybody about, we are very proud here at BTSADV. We're going to be launching a new segment that will be airing on Friday afternoons. It's going to be called Survivor to Survivor. And so this is your space, right? We're going to provide an email for you to write in your questions and use your voice. So if you've got a question about relationships or red flags or how to support a friend, even, email us at podcast at it's podcast at breakthesilencedv.org, and we'll answer it on that segment of the show. It will be the perspective from real survivors who have lived it. Someone who's not going to judge you and just bring from their perspective truth in your comments and questions. So please, please email us there. We will keep it confidential. Um, and not put your name out there on your question. Uh, but we are looking to do that segment not this coming Friday, but the next Friday, first Friday in May. We're going to be starting that Survivor to Survivor. So we look forward for you to write in your questions. And so that's it for this week's uncensored episode of Through the Eyes of Survivors. So we've gone through viral grief and loss, exploring the law. It's the core of all these stories is survival, right? And if today's episode resonates with you, please subscribe to us here on YouTube. We're also on LinkedIn, Instagram, all those places. Just look for us. Either look for Break the Silence against domestic violence or BTSADV. Share this podcast with someone who needs to hear it. Like, subscribe, definitely share. And also, if you're able to donate, please, you can donate through here. We have stars while you're listening to our podcast. I should have mentioned that earlier. You can send us stars. You can also go to the website and donate. We also have a GoFundMe, a Patreon, PayPal, a Venmo. You can help support us on all those platforms. And next week, we're going to have one of our board members as a special guest. So, Amanda, do you want to talk about our special guest for next week?
Absolutely. We are going to be having our board secretary, excuse my, Lauren Hill. She'll be doing victim blaming and denim day. So we'll be getting into those conversations.
Yeah, so I'm looking really forward to that about victim blaming and Denim Day. And if you haven't heard about Denim Day and how that started, definitely come in next week. Stay tuned. Join the conversation. That's going to be a hot topic about victim blaming and how we can turn the tide on that. And until then, stay safe, stay loud, and never forget your voice breaks the silence. Thank you for joining us.